Shalom Aleichem, my dear brothers and sisters. In this video I would like to talk about the holiday we call Sukkot, or if translated into English it's called the holiday of the tents. And I'm not really going to talk about the tent itself because I think I have a video from last year where I actually talk about it and explain what it is and what's the significance of it. But in this specific video I would like to talk about the commandment we have in the Torah. And the commandment is to get a certain species of plants and hold them together, and the Torah literally says to take them. And the verse of the Torah I'm gonna put down in the section below, so you can actually see exactly which verse it is. So the 4 species of plants that we are commanded to take are these species over here. Emmanuel, if you want to come and zoom in a little bit. So first we have this branch, which is from a palm tree, and it's actually from a date palm tree. Then we have this, what's called adasim. It's some kind of a tree as well. And then we have this called arava. This is some kind of a grass that grows by the river. And then we have something called etrog. Now this is not a lemon. I know, even though it looks like a lemon, it's not a lemon, it's a cousin of a lemon. And the way you can tell is, for example, the seeds inside grow a little bit different than a regular lemon, and it's bumpy as you can see, and it's a little bit different shape. And actually I think that this is probably the most expensive fruit that exists in the world, I think. And I'll tell you why. Because these are pretty expensive, you know, because there's, you know, as Jews, because the Torah actually says, literally, when it talks about this fruit, it says you shall take a beautiful fruit. Now the Torah doesn't specify exactly the name of the fruit. We know this from the oral tradition, that it's talking about this fruit. But as Jews, we try to get the most beautiful one as possible. So for example, we try to get one that has no dots, that's not damaged in any way. And therefore the price in a way is unlimited. Why? Because, you know, the better, the more beautiful it is, the more expensive it is. So these ones, for example, this one costs about like $80. So that's why I think this is probably the most expensive fruit. I mean, this whole set actually costs $80, but it's really because of the etrog. So this is probably a good business to go into. You know, somebody wants to grow these and then sell them to the Jews. This might be a good business to go into. Obviously you got to be a trustworthy person that the Jews will you know, be willing to buy from, because for example, if somebody stole this and tried to perform a mitzvah with a stolen one, the mitzvah doesn't count, the commandment doesn't count, as if he did nothing. So anyway, so let me talk about these specific fruits. Now it's interesting, by the way, I wanted to mention one more thing. Like I said, the Torah doesn't say exactly what's the name of the fruit it is. It just says a beautiful fruit. Or in Hebrew, it's I think the word used over there is hamud. Hadar. I'm sorry, the hadar, which is like beautiful fruit. I'm gonna put the translation, the exact translation of the verse in the comment below. So now, from oral tradition, we know exactly what this is. Now it's interesting that recently the archaeologists discovered a coin, an ancient coin in Israel, and the coin has a depiction of the 4 species of plants, like I have here. And the coin dates, and actually, Emmanuel, if you want to zoom in here, let's see if we can, let me maybe grab the phone so I can show. And here's the picture of the coin that was discovered by the archaeologists. And this coin, like I said, comes from the time of the Bar Kokhba revolt, which was actually here, you can hold it, which was actually around 2,000 years ago, during the times of the Romans, where Jews rebelled against the Roman government, and they were able to fortify themselves in the city near Jerusalem, the city called Beitar. And they actually were able to fortify themselves, and they even had enough time to make their own coins. And this is one of the coins that existed from the days of Bar Kokhba. And as you can see over here, it's depiction of the 4 species. So here's the lulav, the palm branch, here's the grass, the aravot, and here are the many adasim. And here's a depiction of the etrog. This is the actual etrog, and it's interesting that we have the, like I said, only from tradition we know exactly what fruit it is, and then we find, archaeologists find the coin, and it has that fruit, and we can see that it's that fruit. And another interesting image I want to show is over here. This is a real letter. Over here, a real letter was discovered in a cave, written by Bar Kokhba himself, which was the leader of the rebels. And here's actually the translation of the letter to English. So if somebody wants to read it, he can maybe pause the video and read this, what it says here. But actually in this letter, he's asking the Jews from outside the city to smuggle in these 4 species of branches, or of plants, in order for us to fulfill the commandment. Now this is one of the commandments which I would say that we don't know deeply, or we don't know exactly the reason for. I mean, the Torah commands us, God commanded us to do this, to take these branches, but exactly why specifically these ones, we don't know exactly. However, we have in the oral tradition an explanation of what it means, but like I said, it's not fully explained. But the explanation given in the oral Torah is like this, that these 4 different plants symbolize 4 different types of Jews. And let me explain. So this one, you know, it tastes good. You can make like jam out of it, jelly, and it actually smells good. It smells like a lemon. So this symbolizes a Jew that has both things, meaning he knows the Torah and he has good deeds. Just like this has smell and taste, good smell and good taste. Now this has good smell. It's, you know, they use it for fragrance, I think, sometimes. However, it doesn't taste anything. It doesn't have any fruit for this tree. So therefore this symbolizes a Jew that has good knowledge of Torah but doesn't have good deeds. Now this one is the opposite. This one is the date palm tree. So dates taste good, but they don't really have any smell. So therefore this symbolizes a Jew that has good deeds but no knowledge in the Torah. And then this one is the grass. It doesn't taste good and it has no fruit. So therefore, it doesn't smell good, I mean. And therefore it symbolizes a Jew that doesn't have knowledge in the Torah and also doesn't have any good deeds. Like basically the worst type of Jew. And the commandment is that we have to take all of these together, and we actually tie these together. And we take them and we just basically will shake it a little bit. And with this, we symbolize that even if one of them is missing, doesn't matter which one, even the worst one is missing, we cannot fulfill the commandment. And therefore the symbol is that as Jews we are all together, you know, we are all on the same boat, and we are all a collective nation. And therefore even somebody who doesn't have knowledge in Torah and that doesn't have good deeds, he's also within part of the Jewish people, and we as Jews should also worry about him, and we should try to bring him closer. Now, one thing I want to say, that my personal opinion, I don't know exactly, but I think that when I say that the worst type, the one that doesn't have any good deeds and doesn't have any knowledge in the Torah, I don't mean the heretics, because I don't think the heretics are part of this, even if they are Jews by birth. That's my opinion. Why? Because we have certain laws where if somebody who's a complete heretic, you know, who's going against God, we are not allowed to count him in the minyan, example, as one of the 10 people. He is not allowed to be buried in the regular cemetery together with the Jews. So I don't think we're talking about heretics. When it comes to heretics, I think that's already like a borderline where the person is kind of considered to be separate from the Jewish people. Now this is my opinion, I could be wrong about it, but based on certain laws we have about heretics, that's what I think. Now, one lesson that for me, this is, you know, what I think can be learned from this, or one benefit I would say in this mitzvah. Again, this is also my opinion, I could be wrong about this. But what it seems to me that this is one of the commandments where we are actually doing something purely for God's sake without getting any psychological benefit from it. And I'll tell you what I mean. Like, for example, let's say we give money to the poor, which is obviously a big mitzvah, a big commandment, but there is some kind of psychological benefit. You see the poor who's now able to eat, and you know, and you feel good about it. and especially when he's thankful to you, even though the best way to give to the poor is when the poor doesn't really know who gave it to him. But anyways, but there's some kind of psychological, you see some positive result from what you're doing. But in this case, you spend money, you buy this, and then after like a week or two, all this dries up, and it absolutely, there's nothing worth of it left from this. And this, I think, trains us to do something, or in this case spend money for God, with not seeing any benefit whatsoever when it comes to physical or psychological or emotional benefit. We do it purely for God's sake. We spend the money, we buy it, we do perform the mitzvah, and then after the holiday is over, then all this becomes worthless. And that's I think the benefit we have in this specific mitzvah, where we do something purely for God's sake because God commanded us in the Torah. We don't fully understand why we're doing it, and we're still doing it, and there's no psychological benefit that we see from here. And I would like to thank you for watching. Until next time.